All right, so we've just finished this removal. The bees are inside the box, and we sealed up this irrigation box, the lid itself, so they physically can't get back in. And let me show you what it's gonna look like as soon as we walk away. But the bees are out looking for food. You can see them here. They're trying to get into the box where the rest of the bees are at. I'm gonna be removing this in a minute, and you're gonna see what's gonna look like on the lid. All right, stand by. All right, so the box has been removed, and this is what it's gonna look like. You have this chaotic behavior of the bees trying to figure out what's going on, because it's kind of like us getting locked out of our house. And when they're flying, they never got the memo that their house just moved. So they're gonna be doing this number, and then at some point they're gonna settle down. You're gonna have a cluster on top of it that's gonna be kind of like a pancake. Depending on how old the colony is, how big it is will determine the size of the pancake. This one was somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000 bees in total, so that means you're gonna have the pancake about the size of an orange, and that's gonna be really normal. This is their old entrance, was over here, I think. But see that one right there? That's pollen on the back of their legs. The other ones are gonna be having nectar in their bellies that you won't be able to see. Now this is really critical because we don't use any chemicals or poisons on the bees whatsoever. The only things that we use are construction materials like screen material, the pheromone treatment, but none of that never touches the bees, because that's a horrible, horrible practice. The reason is lizards, spiders, other critters, mice probably are going to be eating basically carcasses of bees if they're around. So if someone were to say poison these, then the dead bees are going to be a food source for something else, and it's what we call or what's not just us, but it's what's considered secondhand poisoning. So a lizard can only take so many toxins before it dies, and then something else is going to eat that, and then that gets poisoned as well. You don't never know what the lethal dosage of that is going to be. Just like you hear about the owls eating the mice that have been poisoned. Well, they'll just keel over and die because of this secondhand poisoning, and we want to avoid that. We want to be responsible stewards of nature, so unfortunately that means that these stragglers will have to remain here. But the good news is if you see them clumped up on the outside, that means they physically can't get back in, and that's a good thing. That's what you're hiring us for. So the stragglers, the average bee lives about 42 days, and 30 of those days is spent looking for food. 30 of those days is spent inside their colony taking care of the babies, and then the last 12 to 14 is spent looking for food, and then that's what these girls are. So they're on the tail end of their life cycle. I brought the box back over, but you can see how they're trying to get in. Obviously, we don't like to leave bees behind, but they do this in the wild all the time. A swarm will fly onto a tree, and then they'll just take off, and then not all the bees get the memo, so they end up getting stranded, and they have to exist by themselves, or at least together, without the rest of their colony. For us, we can spend all the time chasing these down, or we can go rescue another colony to make sure it doesn't get killed. So the stragglers, unfortunately we do generally leave them behind. Depends on how long the extraction is, what time we do it will determine how many bees are going to be left over. But generally we do obviously want to do the best. We want to do best by the bees as much as possible, but the reality is if we don't get to hives, they're going to get killed 90% of the time. So as far as trying to save the bees and making sure that we can minimize bees getting slaughtered, that's the best judgment call that we do as a team until things change, until saving bees is the norm, which is what we want to strive towards. All right, that's it. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, just know what's going on and understand the process, and know we're doing the damn best we can. But thanks for saving the bees. We'll see you on the next Bee Venture. Bye-bye.